Good evening, Free Enterprise fans. Welcome to another exciting race. You have here in front of you two of the five racers in the Magma play-in one race. I'm here with Rex Rule, and the racers we have are Zilch and Starman Random. How are you doing, Rex?
I'm doing great, and as you mentioned, this is only two of the five runners who are in this playoff race. Over on the Free Enterprise channel, you can see Zyrak and Phineas and Penguinator. All five of them are racing today, and I believe there's 4 spots for the table out of these five, right?
Yes, that's correct. The top 4 finishers will move on to table, unlike the hook route where only the one winner moved on. The advantage of being in the Magma group is that multiple people from each play-in will move on to table.
Yeah, that's the advantage. The downside is, like, all these runners are like this. These are the cream of the crop when it comes to runners of Free Enterprise right here. If they went 3-0 in Magma route, they're doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. Much tougher to get into this race than it was to get into the hook race, no doubt. And Shat is noticing we have some nice objectives to
These
go
are some spicy ones.
standard. Yeah, to go along with our standard Cocoa Forge, we have complete the Giant of Babil and conquer the Vanilla Crystal Sword Altar, so the Darkness Crystal will be required.
Absolutely.
And a fan favorite, break the Dark Elf's spell with the Twin Heart.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we're going to have to do a lot of hunting. Depending on how early we find the Darkness Crystal, that could determine whether or not this is an easy, quick seed or a very difficult, long seed.
And I also like seeing an Edward start. That makes life interesting. There's a few niche bosses that Edward can be useful for, but the main allure is that he is allowed to use the spoon on this flag set.
Correct. And also he does have certain advantages if we end up getting like a really fast seed and get to Zeromus at really low levels. With two of our requirements requiring the Darkness Crystal, there's going to be plenty of options to gain a bunch of levels, like the Giant of Babil and the Crystal Sword Altar themselves. Both of those routes are tons of experience right there. So I don't think we're going to be seeing low-level strategies for Zeromus in this particular group of objectives. However, there are still, as you mentioned, some niche strategies for Edward. Plus, if you give him a spoon, he's fantastic.
Yeah, I completely agree. These objectives certainly do not scream Eddie Strats to me. Even if you get it right on the first time, it still takes a while, and you are probably, by the time you get these objectives done, close enough to Z levels that you'd be faster off just doing a grind and calling it a day, especially since you'll have access to the Giant. There are a couple of good grind options there if you have the right spells or the right gear.
Exactly, and so if like Tella is available relatively early along with the Darkness Crystal, this could end up being a surprisingly fast seed, despite how difficult the objectives may look right away. But we are off, and looks like we got Rosa as the second character. Very nice one. And starting off with a hook, are they going to tempt us with a hook seed?
I mean, I see Rosa, and I immediately feel a lot better about the seed. If I'm a runner, Rosa is the character I can build a party around above any other. And then I get the hook and immediately start to get more worried.
Rosa's decent HP growth, along with her flexibility in being able to change her equipment to be better suited to magic use or physical damage, makes her just so welcoming to have on a party. The downside is she doesn't learn exit naturally, and that can be important sometimes. But that's the main difference. Porum also has some different levels in which she learns her white magic, but in general, those are the main things, I think.
Yeah, Porum does have the edge in a couple of cases early on, but for long term, I would much rather have Rosa. Speaking of Porum, that's our Watery Pass character.
We also saw a life staff in that watery pass as well. The best staff in the game as far as white magic stack goes, and an elven bow, great gear for Rosa and Porum there. Meanwhile, Zilch has gone up to Damsian Castle. We're going to get a character check up there as well.
Waterfall completely empty. That long walk down there for nothing, unfortunately.
Well, we get the other twin up in Damsian Castle, Palom, found by Zilch. So now we've got both a black magic and a white magic user on our team.
Yes, always nice to have both of those, and until it comes time to dismiss any characters, anyone that does pick up Palom and Porum will have access to twin magic, which is at its best in your first couple of fights when Palom hasn't learned any level 2 elemental spells.
It won't take him that long to learn those spells, though.
Yeah, one fight. 2, he should have the full suite. Until then, Twin's not the worst thing in the world. Zilch making the waterfall check. Make sure D-Mist isn't hiding away in there, finds Baron guards, and goes on about his business. And it looks like he is going to take that dive into Ebon Castle.
Going to the castle.
This is risky. The loot here is very valuable because of the 3 trap chests in here that are difficult to take at low level.
And it looks like we are going to get an Old Man Tell on our team over. Starman found him in Mysidia along with Yang.
And Zilch finds some Artemis arrows in the right tower and resets out of the trap chest fight. So, might well be worth going back for. Artemis arrows are the best arrows around, but no, decides not worth the time. Head straight to the left tower.
Especially if you're planning on doing a grind on dragons, like including the dragon eggs. Artemis arrows can be very useful for something like that, just to go through really quickly. And there are certain bosses which are dragons, and I think Zilch might be going up to grab those arrows now.
At least the left treasure room finds another trap chest. That's 2 down. The left tower itself was completely bare. Sparse 60 is a flag set that we've seen hit various spots in this seed hard. 40% of the chests are going to be already empty, but we don't know which ones.
And Zilch's feeling the brunt of that right now. These just so many empty chests here in the...
Yeah. You know what's not empty? The basement in Damsian Castle. Starman Random just found a Murasame.
Now, Leviathan Summon seems to be the best thing Zilch got out there, or if he goes back to those Artie arrows, that is a very disappointing Evelyn Castle, I think. All things considered.
Agreed. Rando gonna rando, and that's why it's a randomizer. But when Damsian Castle defeats Evelyn Castle in terms of loot quality, something strange is going on.
And Zilch does go back, get those Artie arrows. Probably, like that and the Leviathan Summon are the 2 real good things that were found in here. Now, we didn't see the contents of the 3 trapped chests, of course. This was just an early loot dive for the non-trapped chest, and the weighting on gear and item quality is higher on trapped chests. That said, that's still a pretty high-weighted spot in general, and if you're making a dive like that, you're hoping to get out something like that Stardust Rod that he just picked up in Evelyn Cave is better than anything he picked up in the castle.
Yeah, and Cave Evelyn does have a bit of an upgrade for the Staleman chest, but the weights in Cave Evelyn don't compare to Castle Evelyn, just sometimes that's how it rolls out.
I saw, I think, Nuke Bells and Silk Webs, coffins, so good stuff in there, but not the broken sirens or Bacchuses that you're really looking for in these gated shops.
No, Coffin's one of the 4 I'm usually looking for in a gated, but it's not the biggest. The 4 I'm usually keeping my eyes peeled for are the Bacchuses and the Sirens you mentioned, the Coffins we saw there, and the Hourglass 2s.
Right. I think I think it's nice to have a couple of Coffins on hand, but they're not the ones that I'm going to spend a bunch of bank on. Ooh, we get the early Wyvern here and the Mega Nuke hits. It looks like that's going to be an unfortunate reset there for Starman.
Yeah, and the question now is whether Starman decides it's worth his time and trouble to deal with it, or if it's just time to fade. And did Starman just completely
Ooh, he might not have
not have
saved.
saved? Oh, but here's some spice on Zilch's screen. We have a vanilla edge to work with that Murasame.
That is very nice. Zilch did loot the basement of Damascene Castle, so should have that legendary ninja sword as well. So Edge is going to be a super strong character for Zilch. We'll see if Starman decides to make that dive into Evelyn Cave and finds that Edge, because that's going to help Zilch clean up on the rest of the overworld, that's for sure. Now, we also saw that the boss in the Rubicante spot is a Lunar Sparkle. We know it's not Wyvern because we just saw Wyvern at the Antlion Cave. However, there are still a number of those lunar beasts at large, and a lot of it would be scary if you're found on a hook route. You don't want to be on the wrong side of an Ogopogo at the Rubicante spot.
No, we mentioned earlier that these are some very good runners to be in this race, and that's true. And Ogopogo at Rubicante would definitely be a test of their skill.
I think that's probably the one of the best things going for this race is you're seeing just great free enterprise runners in general. I think it's going to be an exciting race. I think it's going to be a close race no matter whether it turns out to be like a really long one or a really short one. Because I just think all of these runners are just going to be so good at just clearing out key item checks really quickly and then getting to the end of the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. Zilch has a good find in the Evelyn West weapon shop, picks up a full moon, which, aside from being a better weapon for Edge than his standard short sword, also back row glitches him.
Yeah, that could be useful on certain fights, and always making sure that if you want Edge in the center of the party, whether or not you want him in the front row or back row is still something that it's always
yeah, for the overworld fights, you want Edge's high agility as the anchor when going up against the slower bosses, and that's why you want him in the middle.
Plus, he gets a bit of that. He gets that accuracy boost, so the damage is better too. And focusing your damage on the guy who can dish out the most damage, it's a lot better than getting like that difference from like 1 or 10 to 20 damage that you might get from Edward in the middle. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Zilch is heading into Antlion now, and will soon be discovering the Wyvern. Now, with all of that we said about Edge is about to come into play. Edge is fast enough and hits hard enough that Zilch might be able to cut down this Wyvern before the Mega Nuke hits. Now, whether he'll be bold enough to go for that or just throw a quick Star Veil, we'll see. He is going to go for it. And
that's a one shot.
With 86 damage to spare.
And we get the adamant. So
okay.
There's a lot of in general with these flag sets. There's a lot going on about the objectives 2, 3, and 4. But that objective 1 comes in every now and then and surprises you, like, oh, we're actually foraging on this one.
Yeah, it gets skipped because of its requirements. You need 2 different key items, and you have to pick up underground access in order to complete it. So with all of that, you typically find it easier just to get the other 3. But occasionally, Forge shows up, and you start shifting away. Now you could have Darkness and Legend or Heart to get you go mode.
And we saw Starman take a look at this option up at the top of Mount Hobbs and decide against it, as well as Zilch just did. No love for Sid tonight.
No, Sid does not really see the love on group flags. He's a solid anchor and a solid early damage dealer and late game chemist, but with the prevalence of Edge taking over that early damage role, Sid kind of doesn't see as much love.
Starman does get the revenge against that wyvern and now has collected their adamant. So both of our runners have half of the forge of the Excalibur, and so now the question is where we're going next, and it looks like Zilch is heading over to Kabul.
Get some shopping done and go ahead and take the item. Fabul is probably the biggest point of divergence for any runner. Do you knock it out early because it's a quick overworld check? Or do you come back and try and get more value by having done Sheila 1 first? Or if you're really lucky, Sheila 1 and Pan. Well, hi Val.
Yeah, this is one where collecting that Edward is going to be a real big help for Zilch. This is the sort of fight right here that could make Starman's day a bit rough. Not having the things, like having to depend on Rose's archery to deal damage here is just not going to be as reliable as the turns, like the number of turns and the amount of damage that Edge can dish out in a fight like this.
Yeah, we saw how effective Valvalis' tornado is with the increase to her evasion, as Edge's first swing was good for just over 1,000, his second 300, and the killing blow around 150.
And that's for somebody whose starting damage is at 1,000. Rosa is not that high. She does have the advantage of that aim command, which guarantees the 100% hit rate, but it's still going to be tough. But that is the Darkness Crystal. That could be huge.
Ooh, that's some spice, because it would not be at all surprising for Starman Random to look at this Valvalis and say, I'm party for it, I'm noping right out, and ooh, oh my goodness.
That gamble into Evelyn Cave early seems to be a really big advantage for Zilch here at this point of the race. And the question is going to be for Starman, when is it going to be reasonable to go back there? Like, once you get that edge in Cave Evelyn, like, he'll have what he needs to do in order to take it out. However, at that point, if this ends up being a hook seed, do you just go and finish the hook route and wait until after then? Like, there's just so much more time that could take place, especially since we know that Tella is available in Mysidia. If Zilch finds Tella and completes Mount Ordeals, suddenly we're looking at having access to completing objectives 2 and number 3 super quick on this seed.
Yeah, I see a few possibilities for Spice. One of them you mentioned is getting a hold of Tella, and you can demachine and you're at Z levels. Particularly spicy if we have oh wait, hello, here's another edge. Wanted some spice. But if we have
another thing, yeah.
Legend or Twin Harp is spicy because of automatic go mode. The real spice for me here is if Starman Random finds the Magma key out there, because if so, he might not be back at Fabul for quite a while.
That definitely could be as well. Imagine if the Twin Harp is up here on Mount Ordeals, we might get go mode and finish the game without going to the underground.
Yeah. Could absolutely happen. And now both runners can demonstrate what an edge anchor does to Bahamut.
Yeah, especially in this vanilla Mylon spot. which is just such a pretty weak spot as far as stats go, all things considered. Yeah, Edge is just going to annihilate Bahamut.
And Zilch has a second edge to make it even faster. And coming up third, but a respectable third nonetheless, is Edward, using a Dancing Dagger as an item.
Kainazo in the second position might have been interesting if this C didn't give us an edge right on the way up here. That does make this fight considerably easier. Just the amount of damage that... So Kainazo's wave attack deals damage proportional to Kainazo's HP. So if you're able to whittle down the HP fast, as Edge is really good at doing, it makes those waves a lot safer.
Yeah, and even if he had gotten off the first wave unscathed, he'd probably be looking somewhere in the 100 to 150 for damage, I would guess. With those damage, that much, you see it cut down quick, but even Sid here, with his hit point pool, would be enough to make this non-threatening. You add Edge's damage on it, like you said, and this is very casual. Looks like Starman Random is keeping his twins down. Might be that with that darkness required, he's planning a slingshot to get his mages up to Z levels.
It could be something like that, or it could be something simpler in that I think he hasn't had a chance to visit get a free heal anywhere since the Wyvern mega nuked everybody except Edge, and just doesn't want to use curative items at this point either, and doesn't want to take the time for it. Like, I think that's respectable, and especially since you've got Edge, now that he's found Edge, like, he might have used life potions up and revived had he not gotten somebody who could just carry the entire thing, and he's getting a free heal here anyways.
It's a good point. Conservation of resources is important. If you can cut down on your shopping time, then you get some of your time back.
And especially since Starman had that unfortunate reset right at the beginning and needed to go back and do a lot of the very beginning of the game again. Trying to save time on things like that are the ways that he can he can make up that lost time.
Yeah, he effectively spotted everyone else in the race 7 minutes, and when it's a case of don't come in last, that can definitely motivate some moves to pick things up. Zilch finds a disappointing King Queen Evelyn in a free spot and gets a Rat Tail, which will be one more check.
Zilch does quick to re-equip that full moon on the other edge, even if just for a moment. In order to get that back row glitch on, all you need to do in a menu is equip a weapon with long range, and there you go, glitch complete. One of the easiest glitches to do in all of speedrunning.
Yep. Once you've used a weapon that's long range, you deal full damage from the back row, and you deal full damage to your opponent's back row, and by use, equipping outside of battle is good enough. If you equip in battle, you need to take some sort of action.
Yep, that's it. Looks like Zilch is going to complete at least some shopping, probably going to at least check out Baron Inn before heading up to... well, he hasn't launched the big whale yet, so...
No.
Question now, whenever you've got that darkness crystal in your inventory, the question is, when do you make that play to the moon? The other thing is, Zilch doesn't know that there's a Tella in Mysidia at this point. Starman checked it on his first reset run, so he at least knows that Tella is available to us. Zilch hasn't seen that yet.
Yep, and Starman Random, having to reset out of Fabul, doesn't know darkness is there, but he does turn in the Rat Tail, and he gets a hold of a Baron Key.
Because I imagine if Zilch did have Tella, after completing Mount Ordeals like he did, so Tella does have his full spell list at this point, making a play to the moon for grinding and if necessary, going ahead and completing objectives 2 and 3 makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I think you grab. Hello, Crystal Sword. If we find a paladin somewhere, that's nice. Change up. This seed just keeps throwing more spice at us. Right up until then, I was about to say, yeah, you swap in Tella for Edward. You've got a party that is solid for Z. Get your D machine grind done and knock out your objectives. And suddenly there was a crystal sword to say, but what is Cecil?
Yeah, I mean, there's that consideration, but I think it's also like, it's also money if you want it.
It certainly sells very nicely for those that don't want to deal with Cecil. Cecil needs to be dealt with when you have him because we have vanilla agility. If he's present in your party, he is always your anchor, and his agility growth is solid enough that is something you have to keep in mind as you're working through the seed.
So this is going to be interesting. Zilch is going to go and turn in his rat tail. He's going to get that Baron key that we saw Starman just pick up. I wonder if that's going to keep Zilch on the Earth. Like right now, because he doesn't have Tella, but he's got a pretty strong party all with everything that he's got right now. He's got Sid, who can be a decent anchor. He's got his edges. He's got magic. He's got what he needs in order to complete the game, other than the levels. So I don't know if he's going to go out of his way to look for a Tella. That's the thing.
Well, he's got most of what he needs other than the levels. Still looking for a harp or a legend sword. But given that's just a matter of getting to the right spot, and sooner or later, once you have the power for it, the number of checks that are available on the moon will pull most good runners in that direction.
That's the allure of the moon, is all those key item checks that are up there, especially when you can knock out a couple of objectives while you're up there already as well. You just have one more key item that you need to find, either that twin harp or the legend sword. Once you've got it, you're good to go. So Zilch is going to raise the big whale. We'll see if he checks the characters and finds out that there's a Tella. Because Tella is really the linchpin if you're going to be going with a D machine grind.
Meanwhile, Starman Random's taking advantage of that Baron key and is going to head into the sewer, get some of the loot, and find another character if he can get through the two bosses.
And Zilch is going to check the characters, so he's going to get that Tella, and that's going to... I think Zilch is in the driver's seat right now with that gamble to go to Cave Evelyn early, I think, has really paid off.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No doubt. From the moment he got that first edge and slipped through that wyvern and took down that Lavalis to get the darkness crystal, it's just been it paid dividends then, and it's continuing to pay off.
And there are the ever-important life potions found by Zilch over in the Mysidia item shop. So it's kind of becoming your one-stop D-machine shop, other than you probably want some ethers.
The mystery of the Baron Foyer is solved. The sparkle there is D-Lunars.
Which does eliminate them as a potential boss in that Rubicante spot. We're still looking at this as a hook route at this point.
True, but as you pointed out, we might not need to go underground. If the twin harp is on the moon or on one of these Earth checks, then it doesn't matter whether it's a hook or a magma route because it doesn't need to be dealt with.
That is still very much true. Looks like Zilch is going to at least make a trip to the moon, it looks like. We didn't see any manipulation for the grind at this point. So yeah, going to go up to the moon, might check the Lunar Palace for the character. Definitely going to check the shop, I imagine. I think if you're going to the moon
of these two
point,
before, yeah, I would check both of these before the doing a D machine grind.
I can see either way. It depends on how much Zilch likes the party right now.
I mean, if nothing else,
Crystal Sword, maybe you're seeing if Cecil's there. That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, I'm lugging a Crystal Sword. I want one last chance to find a paladin, if nothing else.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Yet another ninja. So many ninjas.
Ninjas are out in full force. Somebody told them that they'd be a lot harder to find after this race was over, and they decided to show up now while they had the chance.
Zilch doing what I always love doing with extra edges that I don't like. Take them away, but take all their stuff. Getting an extra black belt and an extra bandana, especially, is just those are some really premium pieces of gear for physical attackers.
Yeah, always take his equipment. The two pieces you pointed out are very useful, and even if you're completely outfitted, it all sells for a good amount of money, and there are things that need to be bought, like hourglasses.
Yeah, I think like Edge and Fusia both have really good gear that they come equipped with, and it's always worth remembering that. Sid, unfortunately, he was locked up. All he's got's a wooden hammer and a prisoner robe. Edge and Fusia got the goods.
Sorry. This novel by F4FE Enterprise is killing me here.
But we're going to get a peek at the key item in Baron very shortly here over on Starman's side. Oh, I'm tongue twistering myself.
Words hard.
Looks like Zilch also wants to take a peek at that crystal altar right now. Wants to know what he's up against.
He's got coffins and he's got hourglasses. He's got a number of ways, and he's got all of Tella's utility spells. There are a number of bosses at the Crystal Sword altar that he could take down, and if not, he at least knows who's there.
Just to protect Ring from Starman from that Baron route, looks like we're going to get a peek down at the Baron throne as well. Wants to just know what's up before committing to a hook route, it looks like.
I would want to. I would want to make every check I could before I touched the hook route.
I think that's...
Said that, and then I thought about the party I have. I have a ninja with a Murasame and another sword. Yeah, maybe I could make an exception. General rule, but this is certainly a time that, we might be able to just...
Oh, seeing yet another lunar sparkle here, and we have found Plague. This is one that Starman could probably deal with at this point if he wants to.
Yeah, there are a number of strategies that can deal with Plague, since all he does, quote unquote, is put numbers on you that kill you when you reach 0. But you can convince him that he needs to put the numbers back up again through a number of means, and if you do that, fine. And so we've seen Plague, we've seen D-Lunars, we've seen Wyvern. You know where I'm going with this.
It really could be the Ogo Pogo in that spot there. Zilch finding a boss that is not easy in that Crystal Sword spot, and that is the Antlion.
No, that's a very physical boss that, I mean, Zilch could pull it off with this party if he had to, but I'm not sure he wants to. But now, armed with 8 hourglasses, Zilch looks like he's going to grab some quick levels off of lunar trap chests.
Yeah, I was able to find that Warlock carry chest right next to the save point where he was fighting the Antlion from. And so, going to take this opportunity to burn an hourglass. The Warlock in particular gives quite a bit of experience, and I believe Zilch has a Mute Knife as well. Yeah, do almost 3,000 damage, even at these low levels. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, this is going to be a great pickup of experience early on. as Starman Random does get through Plague, gets his own batch of experience on his low-level party, and gets a key item for his trouble, or just a white shirt.
The white shirt.
Which is a solid shirt nonetheless. It has terrific physical and magical defense, resists undead to boot, and gives plus 15 to will, the white magic casting stat. But it is not the key item that Starman was looking for.
Unfortunately for Zilch, the weak spell brings somebody to single digits of HP, but not just one. And the high magic defense of those carriers means that Ice 2 from Palom just did the 1 damage. Had to alter it up and found a better way of dealing with them. Hopefully he'll be able to get the life glitch on the Warlock. That's the more important one. That's the highest experienced monster in this formation. And looks like he's got that, so that's great. Looks like Starman is going to be picking up his Tella at this point as well.
And now the only thing Starman has left on their radar is a Spicy D Mist, which we know isn't in the waterfall, but could be in the vanilla location, or Fabul, which we know has the Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, the question is, how much does Starman prioritize that little bit of advantage, or like, does he know? I imagine that all these runners will know that once you've got this, especially this Mirasame edge, you can take out the Valvulus. Like, I don't think that's scary for him anymore. But the question is, does he want to invest into that at this point?
Right. Again, if he's feeling that 7-minute time loss, he might feel like he doesn't have the time to spare on a Fabul check that he's got to get underground.
And going underground, it looks like, is the strategy. He's at least going into the cave, and so he's going to get all those treasures that Zilch got early. He's going to get access to that shop, that edge, and then we'll see if he decides to descend and take on that Lunar Sparkle, which I believe now is going to be either Pale Dim or Fogo Fogo.
Yeah, one of those two. Zilch got through his trap chest, found his own white shirt, and got anywhere from 7 to 12 levels on his characters for the trouble.
Looks like Zilch does want to check for more bosses, especially now that he's got that little bit of an experience bump from that Warlock Curious chest. Again, if he finds a free fight up here, that's going to be really great. Baigen in the Vanilla D Lunar spot is not a free fight.
Yeah, that is definitely not the definition of free. Go ahead.
Scary moon bosses so far.
Yeah.
This one might be a little bit more manageable, Mylon and the Ghasts. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see if Zilch heals up. Yeah, he's healing up, so he's going to give it a shot. The getting rid of the gas early is going to make it so that all Mylon does is throw a bunch of lit 1 spells and then occasionally throw a punch. If you can tank the lit 1s, then you should be in pretty good shape. And that little level boost, he's got everybody up to around level 30. That might be enough to do this one.
Yeah, particularly if his ninjas have learned Image and can blink themselves to protect from the occasional punches.
I think he's a little low level for that. Looks like he's actually going to go for Hourglass just to stop the gas. And that makes sense too, though you can take out Mylon first and not worry. The problem normally with the targeting Mylon himself first is that once he dies, the gas kind of go berserk and just start punching you really hard. As long as Mylon's around, they're subdued. However, I think these lits are hitting a little bit harder than Zilch would have liked, and so he might be altering his strategy here. We'll see.
And Mylon has it in for Palom. Knows exactly where he wants to put those lightning spells and is not holding back.
Well, with these berserks, we're not pinpointing Mylon. The advantage of getting rid of Mylon early is he doesn't cast Lit 1 as often uh, when um, when he's got his gas around. So he's going to cast that more frequently once the gas go down. Um, Plus, he counters everything with Lit 1, so it's a lot of Lit 1 spells that you're going to see. And still hitting Talon. Bet he wishes he had a diamond ring right about now. That resist lightning.
Come in handy. Protect ring would resist all of it.
There's one protect ring found, I believe, on Starman's side in Baron Castle. But we're about to get to the boss in the King Queen Evelyn spot over on Starman random side as they're going towards the underground here. Interesting, opting for a little bit extra defense, finding that samurai armor instead of the black belt, but we get the water hag. We get a free fight here.
This is a punchy spot, and I completely understand that decision. There's a lot of physical attack here with Edge in the back row. His ability to weather the attacks could be far more important than the potential 1 damage multiplier and extra damage from the black belt.
Yeah, that's just like heads up playing, like knowing what kind of bosses could wreck you here, and they're going to be the ones here, and just making that adjustment on the fly. Very smart play by Starman. Ends up getting a free boss anyways, but still, it was a really nice to see that little kind of prep right there before the fight.
And Starman, are you feeling bold? You want to straight at this? He is. Granted, it's only a water hag to go through if this goes south.
And it's the Pale Dim. We didn't get the troll of the Ogopogo here. We've got Pale Dim. Going to start with darting that Drain Spear. That does quite a bit of damage. Virus is going to be probably the preferred spell to use against Pale Dim. You don't want to use elemental damage against him. That's
no.
that would be bad.
Yeah, anything of the Fire Ice Lightning, not only is it going to heal him, but he's going to slap you with a Quake for your trouble. If you ever bring Rydia to face Pale Dim, summons will receive the same treatment. Zilch getting crystal armor. I mean, he already sold the crystal sword, so go ahead and sell the crystal armor when you get back to a shop.
Zilch deciding to go for some random encounters here. Turn the random encounter for this single King Ryu fight.
He might be looking to take out the crystal sword altar while he's here. Get his objective done, get some more levels, wander over to the giant, and get that taken care of. Also, probably clear out the rest of the moon while he's here and see if he can find a twin heart.
I always find it interesting what runners decide to do with their grind options, and Zilch's has really caught me a little bit different, but it's been effective so far.
Yeah, it is not a grind you see often. You see hourglasses in the moon shop, and a lot of people will immediately think of the hairdryer's chest that's nearby in the lunar path for a quick burst. But Zilch, taking advantage of a lot of the high-value loot that he found early, was able to purchase a lot more in the way of hourglasses and has decided to spend them here on the moon.
And it looks like your inclination is right as he's returning to the Crystal Sword altar, and we are going to get another crack at this antlion fight. This time knowing what he's up against, and so you see him even adjusting his spell list so that he knows exactly where the spells are going to be and doesn't have to hunt for them in battle. I think that's always something that's it's a little bit more time right now, but it may save you aggregate time overall.
Yeah, absolutely worth it. And with someone like Zilch, if he hadn't already figured out what he was going to do about this antlion, I'm sure that as he was juggling those spells, he was still reviewing, okay, the antlion's going to do this, I should lead with this. At the same time, he's doing that spell juggle.
Another thing, it looks like at this level, Zilch still doesn't have image on his edges, so gonna have to rely on something else. He's got one illusion in his inventory, and then he's going in with Tella knocked out. It might do him good to revive him, just so that you've got another person who can cast that blink spell, which I think is going to be the best defense against this antlion.
That would definitely help. A physical attacker is when Blink shines, as you said. He threw a Silk Web out because the moon spots are typically very, very fast, and slowing that down, you'll take it every day.
Starman takes an unfortunate wipe to that Pale Dim. That's a spot that has decent physical attacks, pretty good speed, and a lot of hit points to get through. So being able to get through that entire fight, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yeah, definitely. This is not as bad as an Ogopogo would have been, but it's no cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination.
It might have been one of those situations too where it's like he might have been feeling the relief, like, oh, it's just Pale Dim here, and then the Pale Dim starts knocking out the characters. It's like, I thought this was supposed to be easier. No. Pale Dim in this spot can be very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier in that Ogopogo is going to throw punches that are just as hard, and then occasionally throw out waves to knock out 1/4 or 1/2 of your party's hit points based on their maximum. But yeah, lunar bosses in general, put them in the right spot and you're in for a time. And Zilch is still dealing with this antlion. He's going to have to do a lot of prep, and he's getting there. We've got a lot of flickering images that will let him ease off and go on the offense.
Yeah, Blink is still only part of the solution, though, because the counterattacks from Antlion, if he decides to fight with the ninjas, can be really dangerous, too. So you gotta both Blink and heal with Rosa if you're going to do as much damage as possible. So it's just, this is a nasty fight right here, especially, like, these are still, like, they're much higher levels than Starman's at right now. But for considering where you're supposed to be fighting these moon bosses, or bosses on the moon, this is a very low level. And Zilch is just doing everything necessary in order to do it. And we saw the HP ran out boss kill.
Oh, swag!
That's not something you see every day.
No.
Just an arty bow, but that is objective number 3 completed for Zilch. So we finally have an objective complete on our screen.
And with these objectives, 45 minutes in, and for Crystal Sword Altar to be the one, I'm in.
Yeah, that's a good point there. You'd imagine that this would be like the last one that you get right as you're walking on the way to Threemus or something like that. But nope, we're doing that right away. We're going to see, looks like Zilch still wants to take out these, like, the fact that there's just that one key item that Zilch is away from go mode, I think is like, he wants to take out these moon bosses if he can. That's what it looks like to me.
I agree. And this is the flip side of the moon dive.
Yeah.
If you spend enough time here, you really feel committed, and you don't want to leave until you're done turning everything over. And if neither the Twin Sword or the Legend, or the Twin Harp, excuse me, or the Legend Sword are on the moon, then this ends up being a good grind, but a big time loss.
So now we're going to fight this Baigan here, and that is not going to be an easy fight either, especially at these levels. This is going to be a pretty hard-hitting boss. We got 3. The body and both arms are all strong attackers. We're going to do a lot of the same strats that we saw against the Antlion fight with these blinks coming up from Rosa. We don't have the nasty counterattacks. Quake is going to be a very nice spell because it's going to be able to take out the arms at the same time as doing significant damage to the body. So this is also a higher HP spot, though, so this is going to be a longer fight to try to get through and make sure that Palom and Rosa stay up.
Yeah, all of that completely true. And Quake, what you mentioned, Quake is going to be the key. Quake is good enough to take these arms out, and once they're gone, Bygone takes an action to bring them back. And unfortunately, he immediately identifies the threat and knocks down Palom, but if he can keep Palom up and the Quakes can regularly take the arms out of commission, that's going to be a huge advantage for Zilch.
Of course, the other reason that Quake is so great is that it bypasses the Reflect that Bygone puts on himself after the first magic spell hits him. Meanwhile, Starman Random has defeated the Pale Dim and is now the first of the 2 runners that we see. Now, remember, there are 3 other runners racing today that we're not keeping tabs on, but the first of our 2 featured runners to make it to the underground.
And he does the smart thing and checks the top of the tower, sees a purple robe. Because we've seen Mylon and friends up here, we know that that's Mylon Z at the top of the tower, the safer of the 2, but Starman Random has no way. And get Coop pointing out that yes, if we had a Cecil, and if we had Crystal Armor and Crystal Sword, then Cecil could be handling these physical bosses very easily.
Yeah, but Crystal is one character that we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen him, we haven't seen Rydia. I think those are the only characters that would be offered that we haven't seen. Oh, we haven't seen Kane either. Okay, Kane.
No, I haven't seen Kane. But yeah, I think those are the only 3. I think we've seen the other 8.
So now we're going to get our first look at some of these underground checks over on Starman's screen, heading right to the Fame Arch to start with. There's a free check in here in the vanilla rat tail chest, and I'm sure we're going to get a peek at that very shortly, and then we're probably going to... We may get a peek at what bosses are down here. I doubt Starman's going to take out either of those at this point in time.
Yeah, agreed. I don't see him going after them with this party unless there's something there that's very free that he feels he can take out with some special gear or some tricky strats.
Sure, but even something that would be a regularly free fight, like, say, the Dark Imps, if they're sitting in that Leviathan spot, that could still be a problem.
Yeah, Dark Imps in the in the Fame Arch are not exactly free because of how fast and hard hitting these spots are, similar to the Rubicante spot you just went through. Masamune is not the key item, but I'm sure the ninja is going to appreciate swinging it.
Yeah, I believe Starman. Does he have 2 ninjas as well?
I believe so. He dove the hook route, and I believe he kept the second ninja.
Oh, and it is that spot. Dark Imps are in the Leviathan spot, so watch out. They're not free.
And we know that's the leg at Asura because we already saw elements. Now, one thing that would help with those Dark Imps are the coffins. Get the hourglass on them, lock them down, and then throw some coffins, and you don't have to chew through the massive amount of hit points in that position. And to catch you up, Wolfman, Zilch got a early ninja, and with a legendary sword was able to take out Vivalis at Fabul, finding the darkness crystal back there, which has moved Zilch up to the moon, which is where he spent most of the race since then. Starman Random didn't have the ninja at that time, and so had to walk away from Fabul and cleared out everything else on the overworld before making the hook route.
Now Zilch has defeated that Baigan, but no key items. Did get an Avenger, but we don't have anybody who could use it. Gonna go down and check the vanilla Ogopogo spot.
Yep. One of the most dreaded spots in the game for its speed, its power, and its hit points, even amongst the moon spots. It's rude. Who is here?
Well, buying that stack of hourglasses has been one of the best things for Zilch. Been able to take care of that, the gas in the Mylon fight, the carries and warlocks in that trap chest, and now the blue dolls as well. Just so many things that the hourglasses are useful for.
Yeah, Zilch is going to be through this without any trouble. The first dose of Quake from Helen is going to take out the orange dolls, and it probably won't take the purple dolls, but since Stop has been applied to them with the Hourglass, they won't be able to transform into Calbrenna, and Zilch can bring it back around and finish the job.
Yeah, in general, the blue dolls, they're the higher HP dolls in general, and they're considered the more difficult, but there's more statuses that can be inflicted on them, and so I don't know which ones are actually harder.
Would you like another Avenger?
Well, if I had a cane or two canes, I'd like two Avengers.
This is one of those cases where I can't tell anymore which runner is ahead, but I doubt either runner feels like they're ahead. I think Zilch is going to knock out future checks quicker with his levels, but that doesn't mean anything unless he can find his way to the right spot.
It still is worth noting that if we haven't seen D-Mist yet, but if we find either in this pale dim spot, which is where I imagine Zilch is heading next, or the Bahamut spot, if we find that Legend Sword, or especially if we find that Twin Harp, then I think Zilch is way in the lead at that point. However,
oh yeah, absolutely.
If Starman finds the Legend Sword really quick, it could really swing in his favor in that case as well. I think both of them have real outs to win this race as far as the two that we're seeing here. Of course, there are the three other runners as well, but as far as the two that we're seeing here, I think.
Yeah, and with the only thing about this race, finish somewhere top 4 of the 5, not that they can see each other, but if they beat only the other runner on our screen here, that's enough for them to move on.
This moon for Zilch has been I think it's been played very well by Zilch. There's been a couple of really tough bosses in real important spots that Baigan down at the D-Lunars and the Antlion are both very difficult fights. But he knew that he had to prioritize them, one because it's a 2 key item checks and one because it's an objective. The other bosses were doable, not too scary, but still needed something. Use what he had with that trap chest, the hourglasses, to get the levels needed to get the first couple bosses down, and then just riding this wave. Really well played by Zilch, all things considered, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to make a very simplistic statement, you win races by doing something important that your opponent either didn't or couldn't do. And so if you see yourself in a position where you can make checks like these moon checks that Zilch is knocking out, and you do them before your opponent could have a chance to, then if they pay off, that's your win. That's your advantage.
Starman Random has completed the Dwarf Castle boss fights. Now we get a couple of key item checks because the Warp Glitch is enabled. And Tella is going to enable Starman Random to do a warp after collecting this item from Luca, which is the package.
Package not too exciting. It's a character check if Starman Random wants to go for it. There's a minor chance that there's a really spicy D-mist back there, and then another chance of it actually mattering.
Yes.
The warp glitch, however, very important.
That pan might be what Starman needs, because I think that's something that could point him towards going back to that Valvolus and getting that Darkness Crystal.
Yep. And plus he'll get 2 key item checks along with that Darkness Crystal. One when he hits Yang over the head with the pan, and another 2 more checks, actually. 3 total extra checks. 2 from Sheila. So we have Darkness plus 3 coming in. There's a very real chance that Starman is going to hit go mode when he gets back to the pool.
Oh, but speaking of go mode, found that Twin Heart.
Zilch's long moon struggle has finally paid off. He has go mode and is already in the low 40s. Can knock out the Twin Heart and the Giant of Babil, and will be pretty close to Z levels by the time he does.
Yeah, pretty close. Might take one or 2 more trapped chests if he feels like he needs it. He's already got Cure 4 on Rosa, so I think a big part of it is just going to be what does he need to do in order to feel like Rosa's got enough HP for the fight. I think that's going to be the big thing at this point.
Yeah, I agree. That is the checkpoint for getting through Z. It's one of the great things about having her in the party is that getting her to that point is so much easier than getting Porum there, for instance. Starman Random is going to be diverted by the tower key. This is reasonable. Your tower is in the neighborhood, and you don't have to leave underground if you can make these 2 checks in reasonable order. But it's going to keep him away from that Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, that's going to be unfortunate as far as is like the race against Zilch goes. We see Zilch picks up some ethers along the way. Wonder if he's going to try to do maybe a mini D-machine grind on the way to the Giant after completing this Twin Heart check.
Maybe. We will see. That Black Show is a little evasive.
It might just be want to grab a few ethers just safe too.
Yeah, could be just general purpose shopping and not with a D-machining in mind.
And so now Starman at the top of the tower is going to be greeted with Mylon Z.
I'll do his little dance to the Mad Doctor's music. Now for the fun times. We, in a moment, will be graced with music from DJ Spoony Bard. So, that'll be it for me for a moment.
Yeah, once this kamikaze goes off, we're going to get that cutscene, and then it's going to be time for DJ Spoony B's Rockin' Tunes. As we're greeted by this lovely Pokemon music, we see that the boss here at the bottom of Cave Magnus is the Magus Sisters, and this is not going to be a big deal. The Mute Dagger and having two powerful ninjas, this wasn't going to be a very scary spot no matter what.
Yeah, it would have taken something very... Could have been some rude spots, but not scary. This ha-ha-ha Golbez that turned out to be in the Super Cannon room, for instance, would have been annoying here just because of how long it takes to get the fight going.
Ha 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 Golbez is one of the rudest fights for the Tower Cannon room, specifically for that. Even though he's only got like 500 HP or something in that spot, it's like you'd still have to sit through all of this.
And that is not quite a legend sword at the Twin Harp spot. It's a holy sword, and it starts with the letter L, but...
Yeah, that's the imposter sword there.
Imposter sword.
But that is objective number 3, and I imagine Zilch is going to beeline it now to the Giant of Babel to complete objective number 2 and be awarded with that crystal.
And from there, it's just check that Rosa, as you said. See if it's time for Z, or if just take a couple more fights on the moon before heading on down.
And this is something that I kind of speculated early, a possibility. Zilch has not been underground. And I don't think he's going to go underground.
No need to.
We never got the Magma key. And Zilch has not gone through the full hook route. Once he got his ninja, he noped out of there, did everything else on the overworld instead.
Yeah, and it's possible the underground's completely haunted. That legend sword could be at Cave Bahamut, for instance. It could be behind a Threemus that hasn't been uncovered.
Possibilities are, well, not endless, they're finite.
They are finite, and they get smaller and smaller as the race goes on and on. We're about to find out about some of those possibilities. Zilch is going to head on up here. Doesn't need to mess with any of these chests. Just going straight for the objective. Starman Random making their way down out of the tower. Find out what the Super Cannon key item.
Yeah, for Starman, we're going to have to find that that legend sword real soon for him to come back against Zilch here.
Right. So that makes things look good for Zilch, but do keep in mind that we don't have a gun from any runner yet. Zilch could be taking down first, and just because Zilch finishes does not mean that Starman Random is out of luck by a lot.
We get the Earth Crystals, so we might get a treasury check. We'll see where Starman goes next. Meanwhile, Zilch finds a doable but annoying fight here in the vanilla Fiends or Elements fight. The CPU, and you see the Defender healing for almost 6,500. That is, the CPU itself is has so much HP in this spot. It is ridiculous. It's going to be a long fight no matter what.
I anticipate a wall float bounce very soon, and I wouldn't be surprised, given the amount of hit points in this spot, if Zilch resets if it doesn't land.
I think that's a very viable strategy here. If you're able to get the that float to hit, and then you open up the use of Quake, that's huge. Another option would be to just, well, I guess you're probably not going to try to do like your swag videos on this fight.
No, it's way too much. That would be just more of a straight lobe eat the globes at that point. You can just go after the orbs and accept the globe 199s in the name of getting your AoE damage. You could zerk up your warriors and constantly reapply blink on the attacker to try and keep him alive. There are a few ways to handle this.
I like the starting of these Avengers that he found because it doesn't have anybody else who can use them, and that's going to do more damage in one go than anything else. But it doesn't look like he's going to go with the reflected float. Not going to take that 50-50 shot here. Instead, going to concentrate on doing some more damage by the archery from Rosa.
It's been said by better runners than me that the better someone is at free enterprise, the more creatively they can mess up a CPU fight. Zilch is just going to play it straight and not risk messing it up. Starman Random did verify for us that, unfortunately, Sheila does not have the goods. A Luca key that not useful other than getting to 10, thanks to the warp glitch, unless you want to do a war grind. And a pink tail, which will be high value loot, but will not get us towards go.
And while these boss fights are going on, also want to give a quick shout out to the Restream team today. We've got Asuka on the Restream and Xenacat on the tracking. Without them, we do not have a show tonight, so big thank you to both of you for everything that you do here.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you also, Randomania, for helping us out by hosting some of the runners into this race. And thank you all in chat for being here with us to watch the show. No point to get on without you all.
So now Starman got the bad news that the Darkness Crystal has been available basically from the beginning of the run. I imagine he's going to head up to the moon pretty soon here.
Yeah, that's between that and the 7 minutes at the beginning. I imagine he feels rather behind. And again, Zilch isn't done, and I haven't heard any word about anyone in the other race being done, so Starman at least knows that. No one else is finished yet. But he's got to be hustling now.
Yeah, I feel everything seems really good for Zilch at this point. The setup that he did to do those bosses as efficiently as possible made sense. I mean, the other option would have been to go and do the giant first and do like a D-machine grind on your way, and then clear out the moon afterwards. But I kind of like this tactic by Zilch, by going and like not over leveling and not committing to like feeling that you need to get Palom up to nuke levels, which is kind of what you're doing if you're committing to an early D-machine grind, right?
And that's a very good point. The main reason you grind early is to be able to knock out your objectives. You don't want to spend your time beating your head against, say, if that bygone at the ribbon room had been the objective, for example.
Right.
Don't spend forever hammering away at that when you could just get a grind done and then go knock it out and go on with the rest of the seed. But if you're got the right party comp and you've got the skill as a player to get through a tough spot, then you save a lot of time by either making your grind shorter by doing it at the end, or in Zilch's case, bypassing it. Speaking of grinds, I think we are about to see a manip set up for D-Machine on Starman Random side.
And honestly, I think it makes a little bit more sense with Starman having that Yang in the party instead of the second edge. Yang really likes high levels, and once you get him to a high enough level, he does very good damage and has insane HP growth. He is really good at high levels, but you really need to get there. The middle levels for him are really lackluster.
Yeah, We refer to him as a punch mage for a lot of reasons, and one of those reasons is that he needs about as much levels as a mage does to be able to contribute in the endgame.
So what you see Starman Random doing here is a manipulation by counting the numbers of number of steps it takes to get an enemy here, and then figuring out how many more encounters you need to do here outside of Baron. This is because we've got the can't run flag on, which means if you go to the Giant of Babel, normally what you do is just run from enemy encounters until you get the one that you want. In this situation, that's not really an option, because these are tough fights, and you don't want to fight through them if you can't run. So we'll run from the fights and fight the fights in Baron instead, and then just go up and turn the encounters off until we want them on again.
Yep, and Starman Random saving and going straight to the Giant after the first fight means that he believes, and is probably correct, that he has an encounter seed where a D-Machine fight will be his next fight.
This D-Machine grind is very similar to the grind that's used in the vanilla Final Fantasy IV speedrun. You don't have Tella at the party for that fight because it's much later in the game. You use Fusia instead, but you can do it with Tella. The thing to remember is you're going to need either some decent stat boosting gear for his black magic stat, or the easier way, just put him in the middle position, because he's got bad stats and will often miss. So
yeah, and one of the keys for the D-Machine fight is make sure that you put him down the moment you swing on him, because he has a nasty physical counter that he'll smack you with. So you slap him with weak, and you hit him, and he drops, and you don't have to worry about it.
And Zilch is through that CPU fight, so now he's going to go and heal up afterwards, and has one more fight here in the Giant to complete this, and then we'll be on his way to Threemus. Now, this second fight has a stronger physical attack than the first one, but less HP overall. Octomam is kind of scary in this spot. Luckily, the nice thing about Octomam is that once you start hitting him, he'll start losing legs, and will get slower and slower throughout the course of the fight. So he's at his scariest right at the beginning. That Berserk getting set up on edge right away, really useful against Octomam.
Yeah, Octomom in a lot of rough spots is just a matter of weathering that initial storm. Slows down significantly once a few of the tentacles are gone and you have time to pick up the people that were hit by the initial assault and get back on recovery, and then at that moment you're usually fine.
Yeah, I don't think this fight's going to be like we got that Cure 4 up. The really threatening thing that could have happened is if the first two hits for Octoman both hit an edge that was berserked. That would be scary. But at this point, Zilch has a beat.
Yeah, just weather the initial storm, pal him enough time to drop a quad 9 lightning 3. Call it a day.
All right, so that is going to be objective number 2 completed for Zilch, and so he's going to get a Sid. I don't think he's going to want the Sid. Sid.
Tella.
Tella.
If he didn't have Tella, sure, take a base level Sid as an anchor, but he's got his anchor situation under.
But the only question left for Zilch is, does he feel like he's got enough levels to take on Threemus right now?
Yep. And if not, what do you want to do about it? Random encounters on the moon? That cave behind you left behind, and the behemoths that are lurking in there as well? He has options.
Not a big surprise that he decides to ditch Sid, but I would have liked. I always like Sid.
That's fair. We all have our favorite. We haven't seen sirens in any shops, but there is an edge. That being said, I don't think stealing sirens is the answer here.
No, especially since Zilch doesn't have access to the underworld right now. He could steal sirens overnight, I guess.
Yeah, you could run the hook route to steal siren. No. This is never do this. Anyone that's watching, never do that. Whatever Zilch is planning on doing, he's going to be diving down into the LST for it. I would guess save outside the Riven Room, and either he goes or he looks for encounters there.
I think it's worth noting that we did get a report that we do have a first place finisher in this race. Infinius finished in first place at 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 44 seconds. So GG's to Infinius, guaranteeing a spot in the table.
Congratulations, Infinius. Very well done. This is a tough group. Not only did you get through the table, but you took down first.
Yeah, statement made. But we have four spots overall, and 5 racers. So most of our runners are going to make it, but nobody wants to end up 5th. Looks like Zilch is in pretty good shape right now, heading all the way down. There hasn't been any deviation. It looks like he might be ready for the Threemus fight, but we'll see what the preps are right now.
Apples. $2,200 on Rosa. Think he's gonna go now?
2,200 on Rosa is enough. I think that's more than enough. I usually shoot for 2K. So,
which is where he had her, but he had 250 hit points worth of apples and decided for a little insurance, and makes perfect sense.
Yeah, if you've got those apples to spare, might as well cash them in, right?
Rex.
Yes.
There are some blue flags with some letters and some punctuation showing up in chat. What is that all about?
I mean, it's time to ask the question. Whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Yep, that's it. When we fight Threemus here at the Free Enterprise Randomizer, when the crystal is used to transform him into his final form, that final form could be any of over 460 different sprites, most of which have been created and added to the randomizer by our very own Scala Kitty, and you don't know what you're going to get until the fight comes.
All right, now Zilch entering the fight. Got a couple ninjas, got a couple mages, and got an old man in the middle. I don't count him as a mage because he doesn't have enough MP for that. And the moment of truth is arriving. Here comes the crystal. Threemus is going to say Grr-erg.
Come on, Potatomus. Well, we asked who butt was going to be kicked. It's Buttsimus.
All right, some Final Fantasy V action here. Meanwhile, it looks like Starman has just finished that D-Machine grind, knocking out Tella to keep his agility low for anchoring purposes. and receives 1.6 million experience in this one fight. So. And here we are. Looks like
That's a lot of levels random.
Yeah, a ton of levels for starting right.
There was a little bit of a miscount there, but Starman Random not going to have any trouble knocking out whatever check he wants at this point.
Yeah, might have forgotten that he was at that 10 key item mark there. 1.6 million is a little bit of an overshoot, but it is going to make this fight a lot more manageable. See, a little bit of hybrid strategies on Zilch, just a little bit of added damage from some reflective spells from Palom, have him contribute to the fight, but it's really the edges and the Rosa that's going to be doing the main brunt of the damage in this fight.
And Rosa staying up is going to be the main factor. Even if a really high roll Big Bangs were to drop both ninjas, as long as she's standing, she probably has a good chance of getting everything back.
Yeah, she's got some better equipment. I know we found that white shirt earlier. That's going to help her take a little less on the big damage, on the Big Bangs. So even if there is a little bit of a high roll, there's a better chance of her surviving that.
And I think you had noted a life staff way back at the beginning. And if she's using that, that'll boost her will, which will bump her magic defense up even.
Yeah, we found that life staff right at the top of the race, so very useful item to find right away. That's going to be the last spell that Palom hits on Threemus there with that virus. That's a pretty good one because that means that he's going to still do tick damage throughout the rest of the fight.
And we've already seen HP run out for Zilch with the Antlion.
That'd be pretty sweet if we saw it again.
And in the meantime, I believe that somebody just got hit in the face with a Globe 199 and lived to tell the tale for Starman Random.
Well, when you're at these levels...
When you've done D Machine to level 60, strange things happen. And also, when you're Yang and you're sitting on over 5,500 hit points.
It is unusual that Globe 199 does less than Quad 9's damage, though.
True. If I'm not mistaken, Globe 199 is magical, and this spot isn't exactly known for its magical.
Yeah, it's mostly known for its HP.
And not very much appreciated for that HP either.
No, it's got a lot of HP.
Edge is barely holding on after taking the nuke in the nuke phase. The ticks took him down to 35, but Rosa slips in with a Cure 4, and everything is great.
Do have to re-up these bursts, though, to keep it going. This has been a bit of an arduous fight, but so far effective for Zilch.
Yeah, it's going to fall into that long but doable for him. He's got the heal,
like. Yeah.
but even Zerk, we're still probably looking at maybe 4k around for damage, so it's going to be a little while. There are going to be a lot of Big Bangs to weather. Oh, and
Ooh.
situation.
Oh, we're seeing some swag video over on Starman's screen, though. Only this.
And when you've demonstrated the ability to take Globe 199s to the face, why not go all out?
I guess so. Ooh, and then the Big Bang comes up before the Cure 4, able to get those edges. Got to keep those edges up a little bit, otherwise you're going to have to adjust your strategy here a bit, but we'll see what...
Yeah, gotta...
What next. The Black Hole's going to give him a little bit of time to recover.
Yep. A little bit of time before... I believe the next item up on the docket is the nuke. So, yep, there it is. If Rosa can survive this nuke, which with her gear is not too surprising, then this Cure 4 can get out possibly before we get back around to the pair of Big Bangs that are...
Yeah, should be happening before the shake, so we're in good shape here. Gonna probably want to use that ether on Rosa at some point. We don't want her to run out of MP late in this fight.
Yeah, rather than just taking a cheeky swing, just go ahead and power her up and let her get the berserks out and get things properly on.
Mary Knight asked, Rosa's got to have life too. I'm not sure if she does, but even if she does, like 52 MP for life 2 is a lot to ask in a long Z fight like Zilch has.
Yeah, especially knowing that he's going, because his damage is a little bit on the light side, knows he's going to have to heal a lot of Big Bangs to see this fight through. Got a good stack of life potions that he can just use to get the job done. Doesn't even Zerk up the second edge, knows he doesn't really have time for that before the next Big Bangs come through, and sure enough, the edge up at the top didn't survive the first one anyway.
And at this point, might be playing it safe, might be a little low on MP, not even bothering to revive the other edge. You really just need one Berserk fighter and a Rosa in order to get through Threemus. That's all you need. And we are in rocks falling time. We are close to the end of Zilch here.
Yeah. Zilch showing off very good knowledge of Zeromus' script and at what points he needs to push out the damage and when he's almost there and just needs to make sure that nothing really goes haywire at the end like a dreaded Big Bang into Medio. And consequently, has 2 strong characters standing for the final part.
Should be close. And there we have it. Zilch has finished in second place. It looks like the official time is going to be 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 36 seconds. So big GG's to Zilch. And Zilch has guaranteed himself a spot at the table.
Made his way through the Magma Group 3-0 to this smaller of the Magma races and has made it through to get to the final phase.
And I believe we are now joined by Zilch. Zilch, GG, and congratulations on your finish today.
Thank you. It was a little stressful watching that Z fight back, even though I knew I was going to pull through, but...
It was exciting for us, too. We knew that your Rosa had enough hit points and gear to carry the day, but the ninjas, their ability to stay up and deal damage was the question.
Yeah, honestly, it would have been fine if Octomon didn't kill one of the edges. But he lost out on like 300 HP from that fight, and that 300 HP was apparently very important.
You were were you running out of MP on Rosa? I saw you throwing Ether 1.
Oh yeah, she had no MP when I threw the Ether. That was, she didn't have enough to throw a Cure 4 at that point.
Man, that is a long Z fight, but you got through it and made use of what you had though, so congrats.
Yeah. Really would have liked an Ether 2, but no time for that, I guess.
Well, speaking of that, a part of that is that you didn't see a whole lot of the shops, especially since you never went underground. You dipped into Evelyn Cave long enough to pick up a ninja, and then pieced out of there and had nothing else to do with the underworld. What were your impressions and thoughts of this seed overall?
I feel like there was a bunch of misplays by me, and I kind of got bailed out by stuff being on the moon. But I was thinking about doing a D machine, but then I realized I had 2 edges, and they can probably get me through the required moon boss. So I was like, all right, let me just do that. I see its antline, and that's one of the few fights where it's like, that's not going to be free. Better off grinding something. Got the trap chest, got a little experience, wanted some more. Peeked the ribbon spot, and there's Baigen, and again, not a free fight.
Right.
Figured I'd check out the next spot next to it, Mylon and Friends. That's definitely doable, even though it almost wasn't doable the way I did it. So, made it through there at least. But didn't really give that much experience. And then I figured I would kind of just go all in and commit to the antline fight at that point. And all the rewards I got throughout all this were junk. Bunch of swords for people not in my party, so that was great. And that was really when I was regretting. I'm like, all right, I've got like 3 Avengers, a lightsaber, great. No key items.
Yeah, we only saw you and Starman random, but just the 2 of you provided plenty of divergence. Starman bounced off that Vivalis and so ended up diving underground and is busy making checks there while you're working through a very rude moon, and we're both just wondering which of you is going to turn up a harp or a legend sword. And finally it turned out to be you.
Yeah, I wish I had the legend sword too. I don't know if it showed up on screen yet, or I guess it's about to right now. So there it is. So if I had full cleared the moon, it would have saved me a really long CPU fight. Oh no, actually, I guess I still probably would have started the giant, and then I would have bailed and done the hook. I don't know.
We were wondering about that too in chat. Yeah. If you find both if you found the legend at harp, do you dive the hook to forge, or do you go through the giant? And
if you know CPU is there, you definitely dive.
Yeah, that's true.
The problem is once you find out CPU is there, is it still worth it? And I have no idea. But I guess the moon paid off, so I got bailed out because I feel like that was definitely a mistake the way I did it. I should have just committed to a D machine, got nuke, and then just blew through everything except for CPU. But I'll take it.
At the end of the day, it ended up working out, and if that's your takeaway for make sure I do better next time, then cool.
Yeah. I found my crystal sword too, so that's good.
Yeah, that's always a plus, right?
That was how many hourglasses?
Well, so now you're going to be making it to the table. Have you had a chance to take a look and practice any of the differences between the table and the group seeds yet?
I've actually not done a table seed yet. Excited to try it, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll do my first one tomorrow. Probably not tonight. So yeah, we'll see. I'm excited about it because it removes grinding, and I pretty much did this seed without grinding because reasons. So I feel like that will help suit my playstyle. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, once again, GG's, thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting us watch your race. And did you have any final thoughts before we let you go?
I think that's it. Thanks a lot for commentary, Rex and Leonhardt. Thanks, Asuka, for restreaming. And I'm not sure who is the tracker, but thank you to the tracker. It's not showing up in the stream right now.
Xenacat. It'll pop up.
Oh, Xenacat. Well, thank you. And have a good night, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night too, Zilch.
Once again, GG's to both Zilch and Starman for putting on a really good race for us to watch today.
In the meantime, Starman Random has made his way through the giant and can now head back to the moon, needs to take out the Crystal Sword altar and either go to the Murasame altar for the Twin Harp or K value for the Legend Sword. So top down is the play that will save Starman Random here and get him done sooner. Bottom up could be bad news.
I think it's going to be help for Starman to consider the top down, especially since that objective is right in the middle. Like,
I agree.
it's just not really placed in a really helpful place to get that Twin Harp right out of the way early.
Yeah, you walk right past the stair that leads you to the ribbon room to get to the objective. And you go to your objective first because, for all you know, either Legend Sword or Twin Harp there, and you just go bang, bang, done. Once you're down there, I think it makes perfect sense to try and clear out the rest of that moon. And we know that that Bygone in the ribbon spot is going to take some time just because of sheer hit points there. So, yeah, it looks like a bottom up.
It will be a lot faster for Starman than it was for Zilch because
Yes.
at ridiculously high levels now. So,
Yes.
should go down very fast.
Go down faster than it did for Zilch. The 40,000 hit points is still going to be 40,000 hit points, and it's enough of a time that he's going to feel it.
It's like 6 quakes.
Yeah. About.
Or fewer nukes, I guess.
At the moment, we still only have 2 finishes, so there's still no. You all in chat can't see the other runners. We're getting our updates when people finish, and as the other racers come in, we will let you know. Right now, just Phineas and Zilch with duns.
So Starman is now going on that long stairway, which will lead to that antlion fight. This is one that, if he wasn't at level 60, he would definitely think twice about what he needs to do in order to do it. But anyone's going to be able to take it, except for Tella, of course. So,
yeah, he's just going to crush this antlion without even pausing to draw breath. And
you need to worry about the counters.
Time,
this part.
Penguinator on the other screen has come in third with a time of 1:38.34. Congratulations, Penguinator, on getting in the table. So now we just have 2 racers going for that last spot.
Yeah, it is all Starman here and Zyrak over on the Free Enterprise channel that are going at it. We're only seeing these 2. They're playing the same seed we are, so they've got the same objectives and everything all together in this one raid.
Yep. And whichever one of these racers doesn't get 4th, they still have a chance. They're going to head over to all of the other players that were 2 and 1 in the Magma group and join them. And the top 3 runners in that race will also move on to the table.
And I imagine both Starman and Zyrak will be formidable opponents, whichever one is in that race.
Yeah. I mean, Starman, unfortunately found a Wyvern in a root spot and essentially spotted the competition 7 minutes and is still working his way through this seed, still hanging out in the same general area, and could still take down 4th in spite of that.
It was so unfortunate because, normally we think of that antlion spot as one of the easiest bosses because the stats are so low there, but that's why, I used to always call a safety save, if you save in Antlion Cave or something like that, I would call it Wyvern Insurance for specifically that sort of situation.
Yeah, Wyvern is one of those. If you're coming from a rough fight at top of tower and you don't heal up or take that safety save, then an Ogopogo couple of big waves is going to make you regret things.
Yeah, even at low HP spots like the super cannon room or something like that. Yeah, that could be tough.
I mean, you could use 6 Quakes, but why not use Meteo?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you do have medium available to him. Now, Quake is a much short charge time, but Meteo is Meteo.
Right? Indeed.
Yang's hitting for 5,000 damage. I mean, these numbers are ridiculous.
We're going to see a lot more of Yang on table flags, I think, because the loot's harder to come by. And Yang doesn't need loot to get going, he just needs levels.
But the grind is harder on the table flag too. That's the thing. That's what makes him really good.
It's true. The grind is harder on table flags unless you get a hold of Allah and Darkness, and then your lovely, lovely D machine is still an option. The catch, though, is that you don't have as much freedom to form your party. So as Starman Random works his way through this Mylon Z fight, or Mylon and Friends, let's talk a little bit about Permajoy.
Yes, one of the biggest differences between these group flags and the table flags is going to be the addition of the permajoin flag, which means you better be absolutely certain you want somebody in your party, because you're not going to be able to let them go later.
Yeah. The good news is anyone you don't take into your party will be waiting for you in the Mysidian Tower of Wishes. The rescue flag, as it's been referred to in older versions, is on. But from the moment, like, even the second character you get, you have to decide, are you taking them with them? And most people are going to send characters off to Mysidia and try and leave one slot open until they're ready to commit to that.
Yeah, it's going to depend on like how comfortable, like the party members that you get early, like what's going to be your plan for completing the overworld, and maybe it's something like Dwarf Castle, Tower, something like that, before you actually commit to, this is going to be my party, get everybody in here, we'll figure out what we're going to do. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see how the runners decide to route that come these flags, which are going to be coming pretty soon. Starman, now at that Calibrata fight, I don't think that they went to the moon shop to get that big stack of hourglasses that we saw Zilch have. So this one might be a little bit trickier. However, this Quake's going to do quite a bit of damage in one go. It might be enough. Yeah. 5,000 each. Holy mackerel.
That's a thing. And even if it hadn't been enough, with the kind of power we've seen from Yang and Edge on melee, it might have well have been faster to just accept the transformation into Calbrena and take that doll out immediately.
You know, that may be true. That big doll, not that scary at these levels.
That takes care of the bottom of the moon, and now you've got Cave Value and Murasame.
Oh no, he's going back
Oh dear.
to the Zot?
He's got options. He may be playing the numbers and say, there's only 2 key items on the moon, and more than 2 things I left behind on Earth. What has he left behind? He's got Zot still to check. He's got
Zot. He's done the tower already. He's got the Feymarch bosses.
Yeah, he's got Zod and Feymarch. He might be 3 checks on Earth, 2 checks on Moon. Time for me to switch it up. We know that that's not the move, that the 2 spots he didn't check are the only 2 spots that move him forward, but I can understand what he's thinking. It's just unfortunate. And right in the middle of that flight Zyrak finished in 4th place with a time of 1:46:03.
Yeah, unfortunately, that means that Starman is going to be um, funneled into the other play-in race. But by virtue of going 3-0 in the Magma round, does earn himself 2 chances to get in. Hasn't been eliminated for the table quite yet. Just good positioning here.
Yeah, and if I'm a 2-1 Magma racer, which would be better than I did, but if I was one of those, I would not be taking Starman Random for granted. He made it 3-0 through Magma, and he just had a couple of really tough breaks that put him into this 5th place spot. He could easily have taken down 4th if either of those things don't go his way, and I'm sure he's going to be even more determined to make it through in the next race.
Yeah, this would be a totally different situation if, for example, that Legend Sword had been in Dwarf Castle. This would be a very different race at this point. But this is a randomizer. This is what happens, and we see the cheeky D-Mist in the Vanga Sister spot. This is the one where every now and then this is going to gate your way to the underground because the D-Mist, in this spot, the Mega Sister spot, is accessible at the start of the game, and if the D-Mist is defeated, you go back to Mist Village and get a key item check, and that could be your Magma key or hook. There's been many times when people are like, my seed has no way to get underground. What do I do? Did you go to the Tower of Zot? Oh, I went there now, and there's the D-Mist. It's like, oh, it gets us
Yeah,
all.
a lot of people don't know that you don't need the Earth Crystal to enter the Tower of Zot. You just need it to get through this scene for the characters in the second boss. Then there are a few cheeky moves with D-Mist at Magus Sisters. You mentioned it having a way underground is spicy. A lot of fun is when the D-Mist holds the Earth Crystal.
Earth Crystal, yeah.
Because you don't have, typically, if you've made it underground, you got no reason to come to Zod until you have an Earth Crystal.
Right. And we'd finally see Iridia on this scene. I think Cecil and Kane are the only ones that we haven't seen throughout the entire thing.
Right, and we haven't seen the package character check, but I don't think there are any others we missed.
No, because we saw it was Sid at the Giant.
Yeah, we saw Baron Castle, saw Dwarf Castle. Oh, here's Cecil.
Yeah, we found him. Wait a minute, didn't we complete our deals?
And when you're rolling this kind of power, you don't even wait around for 3 waves. You just throw a quick nuke out and call it a day.
Yep, even faster than tanking 3 hits.
We'll get to see what this is. I don't remember from the spoiler log if D-Mist if Rydia's mom was holding a key item or not, but we know where the harp is in the Legend Sword, so if this is a key item, it's Spoon or Magma. Or Sand Ruby.
Or Sand Ruby. There we are. All right. We'll probably go to Mist Village next. That makes sense. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do when your plan is to not forget that you just defeated D-Mist, is you go straight to the
I've done it so many times, and the more things that happen after that fight, the rougher it is.
Absolutely. We got the pass, so we've got the shortcut. Unfortunately for Starman, we still need to go back to the moon anyways. He doesn't know that yet, but yeah.
From the top of the moon, I think it is still faster to exit, ride the whale down, and use the pass. It's the power level of this party makes a second Z fight unlikely, but If the party had any doubts about their ability to take Z down in one fight, then that alone makes the pass the better play.
Starman looking to full clear this scene. It looks like, unfortunately, heading down to the Fey March, going to be fighting those bosses down there. We got Dark Imps in the Leviathan spot. I forget who is sitting on the Queen's throne.
Rubicon.
Oh, yes. It was Leg. Yes.
Leg! It's unfortunate for Starman that he went the wrong way, but at least we get Leg.
Leg day forthcoming.
This makes sense. I mean, you see Starman go back to the Earth, you figure he's not going to zigzag back and forth between the Moon and Earth over and over. He's going to come. He's going to get everything done.
That animation of the big whale lifting up and going between the blue planet and the moon is pretty significant if you're doing it multiple times in a row.
I can tell you from 2 days ago that it takes approximately 50 seconds to, from the moon, go to the giant, realize you're not supposed to be in the giant, get back out onto Earth, and go about your business.
Those D-imps go down pretty easily, and we've got a spoon.
So, a Magma key here. I don't remember where Magma was, but that's another one. It's there. We want 17 out of 17 this, because Starman Random has no reason to pick up the harp after finding the Legend Sword or vice versa, but we could see 16. Glare gonna glare. I don't care if you are a monk with 6,000 hit points.
Yeah, that out Globe 199 to Globe 199. But he can put that Cloak of Flame up as much as he wants. Nuke and White don't care. Now Starman's going to be sad to see it. I believe it has to be the Magma Key according to Xenocat, our tracker. Yep, and there we go.
Xenocat is correct. And yeah. Hour 53 and near full clear of the seed. Yeah, that's impressive. The choices made were understandable, and it's a bit of bad luck because randomizer that the 2 spots that were left for last were the 2 spots that were needed. But to clear everything in 154 and change, other than the last 2 spots on the moon, well done.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this was a bit unfortunate, but, you know, Rando is going to Rando.
Yeah, and it's like Zilch said, like Zilch was really worried during his run that the moon was going to be completely haunted and he was out of luck. And, you know, if, like the pan, for instance, if either part of Go mode other than Darkness is in the pan, then Starman Random is taking off to his D machine and punching through the giant and calling it a day.
And I believe this pause here from Starman is, it might be knowing that the writing's on the wall.
He would have seen the other finishes as they have. Like, he's the same 15 minutes behind, so he would have seen Zyrax finish as he was making that flight down. So he's known since then that he was the only one.
And there we go. He decides doesn't want to finish it up. That's fine. You know, we
yeah.
At this point, like if he wanted to, we would definitely sit here and root for him. But if he doesn't want to, that's fine too. We will see if Starman wants to come in for an interview.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, he knows what he needs to know about the seed now. He knows that there are literally 2 checks left and 2 things he needs to find. He goes to either one of them, picks it up. Hopefully, you know, it's the legend sword he finds so that he just doesn't have to go through the harp, or maybe he wants to hear music. I don't know. But he knows what he needs to know.
Okay, we're checking on to see if we're going to get an interview from Starman. In the meantime, I want to once again shout out the Restream team here. Oscar doing the restreaming, Xenocat doing the tracking today. Also, the administrators of the tournament to make sure that everything, like we got these races scheduled and with a lot of people, it got it coordinated pretty quickly. So big shout outs to them too, as well as the Randomania network here for having a race there. And I believe we are joined by Starman now.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Starman. A bit unfortunate that the only 2 key item spots you had left were the 2 that either one would have given you gold.
Yeah.
GG, man, though. 155, knocked out everything but 2 moon spots, cleared the giant away. That's a big time to chew off of the seed in.
I really wish anything I did actually worked that seed. Like, literally anything.
Yeah.
Like, one thing, please.
Mm-hmm. I hear you, man.
Yeah.
It's not the time you want to feel like it's all falling apart.
Like, I killed Plague, felt good about it, and then Plague gave me a white shirt, and it's just like, why? Why do you do this?
Yeah. And just rudeness after rudeness. You go up to the moon, you get your D machine grind done. You're at levels that you can take anything the seed can throw at you at this point.
And then throws a CPU at me at, like, elements, and I'm just like, why do you do this?
And you just burn through it. You just put the pedal to the metal. You drop rocks. You burn. Yang has to take. It takes 2 glow 199s to put Yang down because he's just that tough. And you tear through the giant. You go to the moon. You do everything sensible. You knock out the crystal sword altar. It's your objective. You're near 4 other key items down at the bottom of the moon. You go take them out in relatively quick order. And then at that point, 2 key items on the moon, 3 on the earth.
And it's like at spots that, like, surely they did not check the finish with that time.
Right.
Narrator voice, they checked the finish with that time.
Yeah, right. Like the odds are so much. Both of the items being in the last 2 spots with 3 on Earth. So, going to Earth to pick up one of those spots in a relatively cleaner makes all kinds of sense. It just.
And, like, I saw that.
It was a rude roll.
And I saw that, like, Threemus, that, like, Zod. I'm like, oh, surely this was it. And no, it was just a pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the big thing, this was the 3-0 playing race. You get to go to the 2-1 race. And I don't think any runner that's 2-1 that watched you go through all this in 155 is going to be.
We'll see.
Maybe not the biggest confidence booster, but hopefully you can still ride the confidence of your 3-0 in the Magma too. So you've earned that second chance here, and I want to wish you good luck in that. Did you have any other thoughts on this race tonight?
Not really.
Okay, well, hopefully everything will work out like a little less bad than it did this time for you. Okay.
You have a good night.
Take care, Starman. Thanks for joining us. And then we are going to be sending everybody over to Indoor Wa. Make sure everybody go ahead and give Zilch and Starman a follow. Putting on a great race tonight. It was really fun to see the very different routes they took in this one as well.
Yeah, it might not have broken Starman's way, but it easily could have gone the other way around if the key items were shuffled. They both put on a great show.
Yeah,
Asuka for the restreaming. Groundflyer, the other restreamer, was the one that rolled up this seed. Rex, thank you for doing comms with me. Xenocat, thank you for handling the tracking.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.